she's like, so what do you do for fun? Because it sounds like all you do is work. Because I was like, oh, well, I'm starting a podcast, and I love my job, and then I come home, and then I was like watching MedBridge stuff, and
Is this a first date?
yeah, it was.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
Okay, we are recording. It should say on your screen like a little
The
recording button.
recorded.
Yeah. So I can't be sneaky with it. It'll let you know. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the New Medical Nomads podcast. My name is Dylan Callier, and today I am with the fabulous Kelley London. She is a traveling physical therapist currently out in California, and a new friendship of mine. We got to meet at a event put on by one of our online mentors, Greg Todd. So we met at Smart Success PT Live and kind of just bumped into each other by the pool, hit off a conversation, found out she was a traveler, and I had a whole bunch of questions, and she wasn't scared off by that, so we've maintained a relationship from there. But Kelley, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Out here in LA, talking about distractions. Everybody's like, let's do brunch, let's do this. And so I'm like trying to do all my, changing my career up, do the Greg Todd, Paul Golf stuff, and I'm trying to have fun. So I'm like, time. But yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I went on what was it? No, it wasn't last night. It was 2 nights ago. I went on a date, and she's like, so what do you do for fun? Because it sounds like all you do is work. Because I was like, oh, well, I'm starting a podcast, and I love my job, and then I come home, and then I was like watching MedBridge stuff, and
is this a first date?
Yeah, it was.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
I was like, well, I don't know, I really enjoy it, and then kind of hang out in my backyard and read a book, and she's like, that's all you do is read. Then she got upset I didn't watch Game of Thrones yet, so I guess I'm gonna watch that. Just so much time, so much commitment. So can you give a little bit about your background, kind of how you were deciding in school to go into travel PT, and then kind of after that, what has happened and where you're at now and where you're heading from this point?
Absolutely. So when I first started PT school, I forgot how I initially was introduced to travel therapy, but as soon as I heard about it, I liked the idea of it. I went to school in Virginia, and that's where I'm from. So I had been in Virginia my whole life. So pretty much for me, I just wanted to get out and get away. And someone told me about travel therapy, and I can go to different states, and I get paid more, and I can take off. Like, absolutely, that's what I want to do. So in school, all of my clinical instructors, I told them my plan. This is what I want to do. And all of them said, no, don't do that. You need experience first. You need a mentor. At least wait 1 year, or at least wait 3 years, and at least wait 5 years. And I kind of just didn't listen to any of them. I was like, I got these loans. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm getting out of here. So after I graduated, it was a little time period, where you're studying to take your boards or waiting to take your boards. So I did take an outpatient position in Virginia. I was very honest with them. I let them know, hey, I want to do travel therapy as soon as I get licensed. And they still hired me. Their goal was to make me fall in love with their place so I wouldn't leave. But I liked it there. I liked my experience there. And I actually ended up staying there 6 months just to kind of help them out a little bit further through the holidays. So starting up in January, I took off for my travel therapy career. Since then, I've been traveling for the last 2.5 years. And now I'm actually thinking about ending my travel career. And it's not because travel therapy isn't awesome. It's just because I'm thinking about settling down here in LA for now. And since I'm going to be in one place for a long period of time, my goals and my outlook are kind of changing for my career. So that's where I am at now, a little about myself.
That's awesome. So you've traveled for about 2.5 years now. How many places have you been during your travel career?
During my travel career, so I'll just tell you where I went. My first travel assignment was to South Dakota.
Okay.
That was something in itself. That was the first place. I was in Rapid City, South Dakota. After that, I went to Texas. I was in Kerrville, Texas, and then I went to San Antonio, Texas. After that, I went to California and Palm Springs, and then LA. And LA got me drawn in. Here I am. So, I mean, I hit a couple different places. It feels like more with all the driving I did in different cities or time off in between, like being able to go different places. But those were the places I hit.
Awesome. So in about 2.5 years, you had about 5 different locations.
Yeah.
Okay. How long were those when you were at the...
So South Dakota was 13 weeks. That was 3 months. All of them pretty much started out as 3 months. And I would choose to extend or choose to stay in the area. So my first 3 were all 3 months. When I went to Palm Springs, I actually stayed there for 6 months. And then here in LA, when I took this assignment, taking a 3-month assignment was what I wanted to do originally. But because of the housing situation, you always have the option to take their housing, but I'm a little pickier about where I live, so I always take the stipend. As far as living somewhere in LA for 3 months, it was too expensive. So I immediately just did a 6-month contract. And then I ended up extending it for an additional 6 months. So I've been here a year.
Wow. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the contract extension? Like, how does that work with the current companies that you've worked with when you do ask for an extension? What is the process for that? Is there any headaches that go along with it, or any kind of tips or tricks that you need to know before going into it?
So the extension part for me has always been really easy. Pretty much if you fit into the culture or the dynamic of whatever facility or setting you're in, they want you to stay. It's almost like they're trying to convince you, please stay or be permanent and all of these things. So when it comes time that your contract is about to end, a couple weeks before, either the manager or director, they'll ask you, hey, what are you thinking? Are you thinking about extending? And you could, at that point, you just tell them, like, hey, yeah, I think I'm going to just keep traveling. Or you can say, yeah, actually, I would like to stay. And you tell them how long, and I've never had an issue with that. So that's one thing I like about travel therapy. It's all up to you. If you like the place and they like you, they're going to want you to stay longer. If you want to keep moving, it's no hard feelings. You just say, all right, out of here. But basically, all you need to do is give that information or relay that information to your recruiter and say, hey, I discussed with my manager, I want to extend for an additional 3 months, and he figures out the rest or she figures out the rest. It's simple, the extension.
Fantastic. When you're anticipating extending a contract, I imagine that the fees kind of associated, since you're not relocating or anything like that, like you would from a previous stint, is there any change in payment through the companies for you as a medical provider?
You mean like if I'm starting a new, extending my same contract?
Yes.
If I like my contract, everything stays the same. Sometimes they even just change the date on the original assignment to make it longer. If there's something else I want or I don't want, for example, after I stayed in Palm Springs longer, I was in a home health setting and I was getting a lot of OASIS side of cares. As you know, OASIS is a pretty long documentation that you have to fill out. So I would tell them on my next contract I had it no more than 4 OASIS side of cares a week. So that way, and that wasn't a deal breaker for them to not sign me on further. So yeah, I asked for that.
Okay.
Also, here in LA, also I did home health, and it was a lot of overtime. As a traveler, that's not always very lucrative just because your hourly rate is really, really low. So if you get time and a half, that's usually only $30 compared to your normal 20. So you're just making an additional $10, and it's just not really worth it. So something I tried to do there was just ask for a higher overtime rate, something,
Okay.
and that worked out. So you can make little adjustments depending on how you're doing at the facility, and just, Dylan, I ask for everything. So I will say some crazy stuff like, okay, I only want to work one weekend day, if possible, none. I will ask for anything, absolutely everything I want, just because you want to make that situation good for you. You're there helping them out. And once that all is set in stone, that extension or that contract is set in stone, you can't change it then. So you have to ask for everything up front. If you want days off, if my birthday is coming up, or whatever holiday, you ask all of that in the beginning. And that recruiter, they're trying to make their money, so they're going to push it. The company, they still want you to stay, so they're going to say, oh, okay. That's how it goes from there.
Okay. So initially, when you were kind of coming out of school, you were told, don't do it. You want some experience under your belt. And I'm sure you've heard some of the horror stories that go along with like being a traveler, being out on your own, kind of getting taken advantage of. Have you experienced anything that was kind of difficult or a difficult situation that you were put in? And then how did you or your company that you're traveling with, how did they handle it?
Yeah. So a lot of travel assignments for me have been kind of difficult. Difficult meaning a lot of places, they need you there for a reason. They can't, either they're low staffed or something's going on with their business or their facility where things aren't really running too right to keep a physical therapist or whatever health professional is there. So it's not about what's gonna go wrong. Every single place has a different thing. It's like when I get there, it's gonna be something. I just need to figure out what's going on with this place. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me coming out of school, but that's exactly how I took it. I took it as a challenge. I was like, okay, I know this is a little difficult, and they kind of just throw you in there. They throw you in there and they want you to perform. They expect you to perform. But it kind of forces you to think fast and keep you on your toes and be efficient. So I learned that really fast. I learned how to pick up on documentation systems fast, learn how to build relationships with my coworkers fast, how to be efficient with my time, because you're forced to. So when you're forced to be in these positions, then you think a little bit faster and you pick up on things faster. So that's what it was for me. Something that was really difficult was when I got to Texas. I had got to this facility, we interviewed, and everything went well. I got there, and on my first day, I spoke with the rehab manager. It was a skilled nursing facility. And she told me, she was like, I don't know if we discussed in the interview, but this place is transitioning into a psych unit. And I was like, no, actually, we didn't discuss that. She's like, yeah, they're putting the locks in for the doors now. So it was half of it was Alzheimer's dementia unit, and the other half was a psych unit, which to me was just like, oh my goodness, how am I think that was my second assignment. I was like, how in the world am I going to do this? In that situation, I could have talked to my recruiter and said, hey, I don't want to do this. Being a new clinician, I wanted to take it as a challenge. And so I just started doing continuing education credits for Alzheimer's and dementia online things, and also for psych patients. But it was very challenging. It was very challenging, and it takes a lot out of your mental. I listened to gospel music all the way to work, and I would need no music on the way home. It was very, very tough, but I got through it. So
You brought up a really good point, and so the reason, or my why for starting this podcast was, you're told fresh out of the gate that this isn't the best option, that you should probably get some experience under your belt and then do it, then make that leap and become a traveling medical provider. But going to a new place and they have a need for someone there, there's probably a reason why they can't just, hire somebody walking in, or there's a reason they can't keep somebody there. But just being aware of that, knowing something ahead of time might be a little off, and then also educating yourself and knowing how to handle those situations when you do get into them, so that you don't feel stranded and alone, but you have a source of information that you can pull from and hear other people's experiences, and also talk to your recruiter. That way you're not kind of alone, and that way you can have the best experience that you can have.
yeah.
But that was definitely one of the reasons that I started this podcast here. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
And then when you were doing the continuing education for the Alzheimer's patients, how were you getting that continuing education?
So the company that I worked for at that time, it was Host Healthcare, which is a little bit smaller company. With the smaller companies, sometimes you get a little better perks. The larger companies have more assignments available. But with that one, I had free continuing education. I don't know if they still do that. I don't think they do that anymore. But also, they'll sign you up for something. I think it was physicaltherapy.com, and you have access for free to all of the CEUs. So I would just search different things, because it was nothing live nearby that really fit into that category. And I would do those. So it was covered through my assignment, through my travel company.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So something that you mentioned before was kind of listening to the gospel music and stuff like that. And I know church is really big in your life. How did that fit in with your traveling positions? Maybe finding different churches, or...
I didn't until I tried out a few, but for me, it's all about where you fit in. And I would like certain churches that I went to, but none that I would say, okay, I want to go back here. So a lot of times my church from back home in Virginia, they stream online, so I would watch that.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
That was my best option until I got here in LA, where there's tons of different churches. I found one that I like, that I really enjoyed going to. But outside of that, everywhere has churches, but they didn't have the church that I felt fit me good. So
Okay.
I would just stream online and be good with that.
Yeah. When you were going to a new rotation, or a new working for a new company, a new area, what was some of the things that you would kind of do in order to kind of start working your way into the community, fitting in, finding places that you liked? Did you have a routine at each new place?
So when I get to a new place, this kind of fit in my personality too. When I get to a new place, I'm completely open to literally everything and everybody I encounter. I'm just making conversation with them, whether it's my coworkers or wherever I live, neighbors, anything. And eventually somebody will ask you, oh, hey, let's hang out and do this. And you just basically keep building relationships. You go out with them, and then you'll meet other people or do other things. But I think that's so important, or that was fun for me, because it helped me soak up the culture of every place that I went. That was something that I loved about travel therapy. I love going different places, and everywhere across America was so different. So just being able to interact with different people who are from these areas, doing what they like to do, recreational activities or fun, whatever it was, I just wanted that exposure of something new and different experiences. So people are a lot nicer than you think, especially in South Dakota. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. When people ask me about South Dakota, they're like, "How was that?" And to be honest, I loved it. I actually shed a few tears when I left. I didn't want to leave. I was like, I cannot live in South Dakota. It was great.
That's awesome. So kind of just some rapid fire questions down here at the bottom. What's something that you wish you would have known when you were starting travel PT that you know now?
That depending on the company that you work for, the travel company, you can pretty much go whatever city you want. That I didn't know. I thought that a lot of the travel companies had pretty much the same assignments. What I would encourage you to do is to find at least 2 different travel companies, find 2 recruiters, and go from there. Talk with both of them and figure out what assignment or what place works best for you. They're probably going to encourage you to just work with them, but you don't have any contracts, so I would just work with at least 2 different companies and see what's available for you.
Okay. And then what is one of the myths or the biggest myth that you've found since you've started your travels?
So that was a tough one. Man. Well, it's a couple. I need to know, like, what are the travel therapy myths? What do people say? I've been in it so long, I'm like, I don't know what people think or what are the myths?
I guess there's a lot of questions out there for those who are wanting to get into the traveling career. So whether you're a nurse or OT or PT, kind of coming out of school, you hear the professors and other people telling you don't do it because you're not experienced enough and you need to have that under your belt so that you can handle yourself when you're on your own.
Okay. So
and then the other information is kind of coming from maybe recruiters trying to get you on their team and telling you, you got these assignments and things like that. And
gotcha. Okay. So to address the first one, it is a negative and a positive. So you don't have that mentor role wherever you go for a travel assignment. But at the same time, when I was working in that orthopedic outpatient setting before I started traveling, I did have a mentor there. But after 6 months, I learned a good amount, and it just became monogamous. What I was doing in the clinic, it was the same. So something with travel therapy is you will be working alongside other clinicians, whether it's PTs, OTs, PTAs, things like that. And you're switching to different facilities. So you're picking up on different skill sets everywhere you go because every clinician is different. So in that time period, whether I was there for 3 to 6 months, I could still learn from other people, and then I could go somewhere else and learn something completely different. So I learned a whole lot from a lot of different clinicians, and that part of it, that was really cool. So I don't feel like I missed out on that. That's just my personal opinion. The next thing, as far as the recruiters, the company is less important. Your relationship with the recruiter is more important. You just want to find the first recruiter you talk to. Doesn't have to be the one you go with. You want to find somebody that works with your personality. Basically, like if you like a lot of attention from them, or if you don't, or whatever it may be, just find somebody that you kind of click with on the phone. And I think they will help you, and they'll be less annoying to you, or you guys can be friends. Like that's always been the best situation for me. The recruiter that was actually my friend versus the company really didn't matter. They all offer very similar things. There's no myths. Travel therapy is great. I would forever.
So earlier we were kind of talking about, before we started recording, about how you would take some time off in between your times working.
Mhm.
Can you kind of talk about that and the freedom that comes with that, with travel PT? And then also, what would you do during those little stints off?
So it is a whole lot of freedom. They say typical assignment is about 13 weeks, which is about 3 months. But essentially, you can sign on for however many weeks you want. I've signed on for 8 up to 26, 28. I don't know. I will look at my calendar and literally say, okay, I want to start on this date. And if my birthday is July 23rd, I'll say, I want to end my assignment July 19th. I'll just pick whatever date. And so you can basically set up your schedule. So when you want to take time off, or when you want to go on vacation, or, visit friends or whatever, you can set it up so that you'll be off during that time. And because the pay is well, taking a week or two off was never hard. In between time, what I would do, I would probably just go hang out with my friends. I feel like during the assignment, I'm already somewhere new and meeting new people and going different places. So I would just either go back home to Virginia or come out to California where my sister lives and just kind of chill and have fun. Just have fun. But a lot of travel therapists that I ran into, they would do that, take a month off and go overseas, and that sounded awesome. But I never wanted to do it by myself, so I never had a partner to come along with me for that experience. So I just never did.
Got it. What's been the biggest culture shock for you on your travels?
Having to learn Spanish. That's because I don't know it. I mean, I lived in Virginia, and we did get to choose like what foreign language we wanted to do, and I did Latin because I was like, a little bit of everything. I'll learn some words here and there. But if I would have known I was going to end up in California or Texas, then I would have chose Spanish, and it's a lot of Spanish.
So I need to work on my California license and start speaking Spanish.
Mm-hmm. I have a book.
I have a book.
A physical therapist book. And it's funny because I still don't know Spanish well, but I know a lot of Spanish physical therapy stuff.
Got it.
Get up, walk, stop. I know that stuff. So yeah, you need to. It's almost like they expect you, not the facility, but the patients. They get mad sometimes.
Got it. See, I've heard some like apps on phones are doing that now, where you can they lifetime speak into it, and then it like prints it out for you, so you have an idea of what they said, and then you can speak into the phone, and then it translates it back to them. I guess the only problem is you don't know if it's how accurate that is with the translation.
Get you by. That's what I think. It'll get you by.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing's been a little frustrating sometimes. It's just because you know that the quality of care may not all the way be there because the language barrier.
Yeah. Kind of like what Greg says, most of it's communication and being able to tell them, present it, what's going on. And then if there's a language barrier, definitely different. Me, when I talk, I'll get like 2 or 3 sentences in and I'll be like, okay, that's basically all I had to say. And then I'm trying to think of the next thing. But yeah, it's actually funny. So when I was doing clinicals in Birmingham, that was one of the things that my CI had to talk to me about, was because I guess in St. Louis, we're a lot more direct. And so when patients would have questions for me, I'd be like, oh yeah, it looks good. Doing a great job. Finish that up. And then we'll move on to the next one. But that's not what they wanted down in the South. They wanted, oh yeah, that looks great. And, we're doing this and this, and just like,
Yeah.
filling up the gaps. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's
You're
even,
like, I don't know what else to say.
so yeah, like you were saying with the different places that you visit, there's still definitely culture differences, even here in the States.
Oh my goodness, Dylan, it's huge. I didn't think it would be that big of a difference in the same country, but it is huge. Very different. It was cool though.
Yeah. What would you tell someone who's kind of on the fence of whether or not they should go into traveling PT or just being a travel medical professional? Could be a nurse, could be a physician's assistant.
Go for it. And the reason I would tell them to go for it, just because you're not buying into any contracts. It's a 3-month thing. If you don't like it, you don't even have to continue with it. That's the best thing you could do to kind of see what it's going to be like, is just to dive in and check it out. If you don't like it, you can leave. Typically, for all of the contracts, when you sign them, they have this 2-week rule. So if you want to leave you can give them 2 weeks notice, but it goes both ways. If they don't need you anymore, they can give you 2 weeks notice. But just knowing that that's there, if you get somewhere and you're like, hey, this really isn't working out for me, you can always talk with your recruiter and you can leave, go somewhere else. So I think the best bet is just to go for it, try it out. I love it. I try to promote it to my friends, so.
All right. Well, I think that was the end of my questions. Did you have anything else that you wanted to tell the listeners?
Travel therapy for me has been a lot of fun. It allows a lot of flexibility in your career. You gain a whole lot of new experiences, and not just in physical therapy, but in life. So I have enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kelley.
All right. Thank you.
And for those that have any questions or would like to reach out to Kelley, we have a New Medical Nomads group on Facebook. Please just go there and tag her in a question, and I'm sure she'll feel great to reach out to you and give any advice that she has.
Yes, I would love to.
All right. Well, we'll be signing off here. Thanks again so much, Kelley. And good luck with your new career outside of travel.
Thank you.